Who do you think will betray you first? A stranger, an enemy, wrong. In today's three stories, you'll see betrayal, contempt, and some of the most cruel jokes come from family best friends and the person you were supposed to marry. From an inheritance cash box that mysteriously disappears to an unemployed friend who mocks honest work. And finally, a spine-chilling prank from the man you once called fiancé. These aren't just dramatic Reddit stories, they're slaps in the face of trust. And sometimes losing someone is the best way to find yourself again. Story 1. Who stole my inheritance money? I'm a 24-year-old woman, and a few weeks ago I experienced one of the biggest shocks of my life. Maybe it doesn't sound life-threatening, but for me, it shattered my trust in everyone around me. It started when my grandfather passed away. I loved him dearly, and before he died, he left my brother and me each an old watch and a tin box containing $750 in cash. The watch wasn't worth much, but to me, it was a box of memories. And the money? Well, who wouldn't want it? I received the box on a Saturday afternoon. I was too busy to take it to the bank right away. The bank was closed on Sunday, so I put the box in the bottom drawer of my bedroom dresser. On Monday morning, I opened the drawer to get the money ready for deposit, and the box was gone. No trace, no note, no signs of anything else being touched in the room. Just empty. And from that point on, I spiraled into a whirlpool of suspicion. The first person I thought of was Michael, my brother. He's 27 and had just received the exact same inheritance. He was at my house on Saturday when I got the items from the lawyer. He was in my room for about 5 minutes while I was in the kitchen boiling water. But I couldn't remember for sure whether the box was still there after he left. Logic told me he got his share. Why would he take mine? But then again, he really needed money. His girlfriend is pregnant. They just moved house. Financial pressure is very real. The second person was Daniel, my best friend from college. Filthy rich. Comes from old money. To him, $750 might be coffee money for the week. But he was over on Sunday and I had told him about the inheritance. I didn't say where the money was, but if he got curious, it wouldn't be hard to figure it out. I tried not to suspect Daniel, but he was the only one who had the entire Sunday in the house to himself. Then there was Carrie, my girlfriend. We'd only been dating for a few months, but we were pretty close. She stayed the night on Saturday, but left very early Sunday morning without saying much. Since that day, she's been cold and distant. I didn't want to believe it was her, but I couldn't ignore the possibility. Next was Kane, my housemate. He was away all weekend at his girlfriend's place. According to him, they were inseparable the entire time. But Kane has always had blurry boundaries, especially with Carrie. Once I caught him staring at her a little too long. Nothing concrete, but Kane always gave me a vague sense of unease. His girlfriend, Alessa, well, I didn't like her. And I'm pretty sure the feeling was mutual. She once threw shade at me during dinner saying I was fake and trying too hard to be sophisticated. I never knew why. I'd also heard she was struggling financially. But how would she even know there was money in my room? And if she didn't go in, how could she have taken it? So I decided to talk to each person individually. Michael looked shocked, truly hurt that I even suspected him. He said he'd never take something that didn't belong to him, especially not from me. He left, looking genuinely disappointed. Daniel was more composed. He told me to go to the police and let them handle it. But then he gradually pulled away. No more texts like before. Carrie burst into tears. She said I didn't trust her, that I was listening to others. But she also blamed Kane and Alessa. Carrie said I'm sure Kane is hiding something. And Alessa, she looks at me like she wants to kill me. Kane just looked confused, like he had no idea what was going on. Alessa, she practically pointed at me and said, "You're making this up. I know you're type drama queens." And then There was one Reddit comment I'll never forget. A stranger advised, "Give each suspect a chance. Tell each person that if the 750 is returned anonymously within 2 weeks, you won't call the police. But assign each person a different drop-off location. The trap will reveal the thief." It sounded like something out of a movie. I decided to try. I gave each person a specific return location discreetly, without anyone knowing about the others. 4 days later, $100 was placed exactly where I told Kane to return it. Kane later pulled me aside. He said, "Don't be too mad at Alessa. She's young. She didn't think it through." I played dumb and nodded. But in my head, I flipped into Sherlock Holmes mode. I texted Alessa, "Do you know Kane is blaming you for this?" An hour later, Alessa showed up at my door. Her face radiated fury. She stormed into Kane's room, tore through every drawer, and found the entire stash in Kane's sock drawer. No attempt to hide it. No cover-up. Just stuffed in there. She threw the money on my table and turned to Kane, screaming, "What kind of person are you? You turned everyone against each other. For what?" That's when it all clicked. Kane didn't do it for the money. He did it because he enjoyed watching people suffer. He thrives on chaos. He doesn't need cash. He needs control. He's a manipulator. I moved out the next week. Alessa dumped him. Carrie hugged me and apologized for ever doubting me. Daniel treated me to coffee and said I should write a mystery novel. Michael. He was still a little hurt. But when I returned the watch Grandpa had given him and apologized, he just smiled and said, "You'll always be my sister." The money's back now, but I lost a part of my trust in people. I'm thinking of using the money for a trip with Michael, Carrie, and Daniel, the people I still want by my side after everything. As for Kane, he can keep his chaos, but there won't be an audience for his show anymore. Story 2. My unemployed friend. Thinks my job is beneath him. I'm a waiter. And my best friend thinks I'm beneath him. I'm 31, married with 2 kids. We live in a modest but stable home. My job isn't glamorous, but it pays the bills, feeds my family, and most importantly, I earned it myself. My best friend, he's 33, has a computer science degree, and has never worked a single day in his field, or really anywhere seriously. I'm not joking. Since graduation, he's just been living off online schemes like Forex trading, short-term stocks, and claims to make about $20 a day. I suspect it's even less. Lately, he started running out of food money. His parents have been covering his rent for over a year. They're tired. They can't keep it up anymore. He called me, said his family cut him off, and asked to borrow money. I told him flat out I don't lend money. It's a personal rule. But if he needed a job, I could help. I work at a high-end restaurant. My boss knows the situation and was willing to hire him full-time as a server. The job is decent, pays well, and has room for growth. He refused. I asked why. He dodged for a while, then finally admitted, "I think waiting tables is a lowly job. Nobody respects people who do that." I froze. I asked, "So, you think I'm beneath you?" He hesitated, then said something I'll never forget. "Not you, just the job." Right. So earning an honest living to support your family is lowly, but mooching off your parents is noble. I kept my cool. I told him respect doesn't come from a title. It comes from being willing to work instead of waiting for handouts. He kept arguing, saying some jobs will just never be respected, like waiting tables, janitorial work, cleaning floors. I asked him to apologize because he was insulting me directly. He refused. "I'm just speaking the truth." I hung up. I couldn't sleep that night. I was angry, but more than that, I was sad. That was someone I used to respect, a best friend for years. And now he looked down on the work I put in every day to support my family. The next day he called back, said he'd thought it over, and accepted the job, but with conditions. His conditions were, he had to start as a manager. He needed to stay at my house so he wouldn't have to take a 35-minute bus ride. He suggested my younger daughter sleep in her sister's room so he could have a bed, and I'd need to drive him to work. At that point, I could only laugh. He said it like he was doing me a favor. See, I'm agreeing to help you out. I was speechless. My heart felt numb. Not because of the words, but because I realized something painful. That's not my friend anymore. I didn't respond, just hung up and sat in silence. My wife, who heard the whole conversation, said, "It's time to let go." And I think she was right. I'd been patient for too long. He's not lacking opportunity. He's lacking self-respect and the ability to face reality. He thinks I'm beneath him for being a waiter. Fine. I'd rather be beneath than a 33-year-old man living off his parents and judging others for working hard. A few days later, I blocked his number. No emotional goodbye, no explanations, because sometimes losing a friend is how you protect your dignity. Story 3. My fiancé took me to my dream house, then destroyed it all. I used to think I was going to marry the man of my dreams. Someone I loved, trusted, and believed loved me the same way. But then, one Christmas night, he shattered everything with one cruel joke. That evening, we were driving around looking at holiday lights, a tradition I loved. On the way back, he said he had a surprise for me. I joked, "What is it this time, expired chocolate?" He laughed. Then we pulled up to a house. Not huge, but beautiful. A tree on the porch, warm yellow lights, a for sale sign on the lawn. Underneath it, a small sign that said, "Under contract." I stopped breathing for a second. Part of me began to hope, could this be our house? "Did you buy it?" I asked, my voice trembling. He laughed. Laughed like I was a kid believing in Santa. "No. Are you crazy? Of course not." Then he just kept driving. I sat in silence, wide-eyed, hollow. He shrugged. "I was just joking. Lighten up." Why so serious I didn't say a word. I knew if I opened my mouth I'd cry. That night I did cry. Alone. In my room. Not because he didn't buy the house, but because he knew I hoped, knew I dreamed, and still chose to crush it. Someone who loves you doesn't joke about your dreams. I posted the story on Reddit, not expecting much. But thousands responded, and they weren't just comforting. They helped me realize this wasn't just a cruel prank, it was a red flag. A sign of emotional manipulation. 2 months later, I canceled the wedding. Not because of the house, not even because of the joke, but because after that night, his true self came out controlling, dismissive, always saying things like, "You're too sensitive," or "You're imagining it," whenever I felt hurt. I left, without looking back. And you know what? I'd rather live in my tiny one-bedroom apartment than a big house with someone who builds a home on someone else's pain. Sometimes truth isn't in money jobs or sweet promises. It's in how someone treats you when they think you'll never notice. You can lose money and earn it back, lose friends and make new ones. But trust once cracked rarely gets a second chance. If you've ever been betrayed by a friend, belittled for your efforts, or brought to tears by someone who called it just a joke, know this: you are not alone. And if you're listening to these stories from your tiny room on a late-night shift or in the middle of the night, thank you for still believing in real stories. Because what we share here isn't for pity, it's a reminder we all deserve respect, no matter who we are, what we do, or where we come from.